Good morning or good afternoon, ladies. It's Dr. Carol Lourie, and I'm here with my dear friend Margie Bissinger, who has just launched a wonderful summit on osteoporosis. And I just finished teaching that class last week in my live group coaching program. And I'm so excited to have Margie here. Margie, welcome. And just let's share all of your knowledge and information about this really important topic.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here, Carol. So thank you for inviting me.
So I know you're a physical therapist, and how did you end up specializing in bone health for women?
You know, it's really interesting because I didn't really start out that way. So I'm working, my area of expertise is orthopedics. And I have a master's in orthopedic physical therapy. And I had moved to New Jersey and I was working with, in a private practice. And certain doctors wanted to send me, some endocrinologists wanted to send me their patients with osteoporosis. And this is quite a while ago. I mean, this must be, 36 years, really.
Quite a while ago. The two of us have been around for a long time.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. And anyway, actually, it wasn't quite 36 years ago, but it was probably 30 years ago, whatever. Anyway, they sent me their patients and and they basically was for exercise, teach them the exercises for osteoporosis. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. People well-intentioned, their doctors who they had been to before said, oh, you have osteoporosis, just exercise or do weight bearing. And they really didn't have any
guidance. Not a just moment. It's not like a just moment. They need a little more guidance, right?
Exactly. So nobody had guidance. So where did they turn? They turned to, it wasn't even really the internet back then. They turned to magazines. They turned to their gym and the personal trainer. And what I saw was so unfortunate. People were actually doing exercises. We can talk about the ones that were increasing their risk of spinal fractures. And that upset me terribly. Well-intentioned people trying to help themselves just didn't have the right guidance. So as a physical therapist, and I had been doing women's health as well, so I'd had the background for this. I said, I have to delve into this. I really need to get involved. So I got very involved in the state of New Jersey on their interagency council on osteoporosis. Right. Yeah, and we look over all the initiatives on the whole state. And as well as I wrote a book back then on exercise and osteoporosis. And then I also even got involved, nationally with the national organizations, but just wanted to get the word out because I was so upset to see that people really didn't have the right guidance. And the good news was there was so much that can be done with exercise and people just really didn't know. So that's how I got started. And, since that time I ended up going back to school for health coaching, integrated also at nutrition and lifestyle. But that's how I basically got started dealing with bone loss and, and osteoporosis way back.
So I like how you said I went back to school and then I added these other skill sets. And that brings me to the topic of, as it is the case with breast cancer, there isn't just one thing that you need to do in order to maintain your bone health, or for breast cancer, keep your breast cancer, reduce your risk of it returning. So let's talk about, for osteoporosis, what's the whole program and the package look like that women need to embrace for bone health? And it's more than just going to Walmart or your CVS and buying a bottle of calcium, which is, I guarantee, 100% the wrong form of calcium, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And it's not simple. It's not simple. And the thing is, yes, with breast cancer, people who have had breast cancer are at much higher risk. I think the statistic I read recently, 80% of people with breast cancer will have some bone loss. However, you have to look at root causes. You have to look at, there's many other things. It's not just, I had breast cancer, I'm at higher risk, or I'm on the aromatase inhibitors, I have higher risk. It's also what else is going on. So you have to sort of be a detective. A lot of people have, just like in your community, other issues, but food sensitivities, that's a big one. They're not digesting properly. I see a huge, huge correlation with gluten. So many of the people I work with, when they get tested, they have intolerances to wheat, gluten, causing inflammation, which increases the activity of the cells that are breaking down your bone. So that you need to figure out what else is causing this inflammation and deal with the root causes. You can't just sort of mask it. A lot of people think, I'll just take the medication and that's it. It's not that simple. You have to figure out what else might be going on, any other thing. So I'm very big into figuring out what could be some of the root causes, number one. Number two, it's not all the same for each person. I have a summit going on, and one of the speakers is Dr. Diva Boone, who's a parathyroid surgeon. And last time from the summit, over 20 people that we know of found out that they needed parathyroid surgery, that they had a tumor on their parathyroid causing the bone loss. So there's nothing you can do. And the surgery, once you have that done, it's really quite miraculous. But the point is that you could be on medication forever if you didn't figure this out. So I think that figuring out the root cause and dealing with it. And so that's number one. Number two is just optimizing your micronutrients and what you're eating and your diet and what nutrients you're getting. A big thing with people as they get older is they're not getting enough protein. It's become a big thing. People used to think that leached calcium out if you had too much.
I don't know. It's so weird. How do things like that ever even make it into the world of, it's like soy gives breast cancer. I mean, it's like when you look at the Japanese culture, they had, before it became westernized, they had 3 or 4% breast cancer. Soy does not cause breast cancer.
So it's so true. It's so true. That was a big myth, too much protein, but the research bears out we are not getting enough, especially as people get older. And it's so important for the bone matrix. You need that protein so that to make sure that besides being strong, that they're flexible, that if you fall, you're not going to fracture. So I think, so getting the right nutrients and making sure you're not deficient in the nutrients. So I think that's very, very important.
Easily discovered and tested for with the NutraEval by Genova Diagnostics. We have assets to use to find out exactly what you're missing. It's not a guess name, right?
I really believe in that because, when people are trying, you don't want to wait 2 years and then find out, oh yeah, I'm still losing bone. I think it's so important. I'm such a big believer in test, don't guess. And so you can supplement according to what you need, because people don't know, am I getting enough of this? I'm eating a diet, I'm eating the rainbow, I'm doing all these great things. But sometimes I know when I did, there's different micronutrient testing. That's a great one. I had done a different micronutrient testing and I'm sorry?
Which one do you like?
Well, way back, I had done the SpectraCell, but there's also Vibant America, but I think all of them are good. The NutraEval is great too. Just finding out. And so I found out I was like low in CoQ10. Like, why would that happen? So just things you can adjust accordingly. So I think making sure you're sufficient in what you're bringing into your body. And the other piece to that, not just eating the food or the supplements, are you digesting and absorbing? And I see a lot of people reduced stomach acid. There's a Dr. Wright in Washington State who looked at people with osteoporosis and he found 90% didn't have enough stomach acid. And so, that's just the digestion piece is so important. And then the exercise. And that's the good thing, Carol. And I think that's so important for your population as well, is that everyone, no matter where you're at, can improve and do some type of exercise, even if you're in recovery mode or you don't have the energy, even very easy balance or Qigong or different things that can reduce your risk of falls. I mean, the big problem is having a fall and having a fracture. That's the key. It's not what your DEXA number is. That's the end game. It's, are you going to do, it's preventing fractures and fractures really. So if you can get it's the best thing to improve your balance and really get nice and stable so that if you do somehow trip, you have that balance to correct yourself and you can reduce your falls. And I think with the exercise, there's so much that can be done. And, I've been working with this for so many years as a physical therapist, but strength training, when, and again, if you're going through breast cancer treatment, whatever you're going through, sometimes you have to cut back. You can only do so much. And, we don't want to overtax ourselves. But the exercise piece is just, strength. There's nothing more empowering than.
I love it. I love it. I'm out there with my weights doing my power walks. And when I first started, I could barely get up the hill with my body myself. And then as I got in better shape, I started adding 1 pound and 2 pounds. And now I'm out there, and somebody, a neighbor said, "You look ridiculous." And I said, "Thank you. I'm happy to look ridiculous. I'm strengthening my muscles, my tendons, my cardiovascular system. I don't care how I look." And I think that's an important aspect. When we first start out doing a new regime, you're not going to be great or perfect, and it doesn't matter, right?
That's the interesting thing. People say, well, how much do I have to lift? Well, for each person, it's, the bones respond to the forces placed upon it. So like when you're contracting the muscle against a resistance, that's saying, hey, we need more bone here. So it's the amount of force. It's not doing a lot of repetitions. It's the amount of force that's causing more bone to be produced. And they've done studies where it's, significant strength training. But for a person that hasn't done any exercise, just bending your arm or lifting your leg and body weight is going to be more than you're accustomed to. And
Right.
then you gradually increase, but you have to increase. There are people that have been lifting 2 pounds their whole life.
That's not enough.
To be effective in increasing bone density, you have to keep increasing it, obviously not so it causes pain, but there's a balance between using good posture, using good mechanics, and then gradually increasing your strength. But it's so effective, and I love it because I have people in their 80s when I've done programs. The state of New Jersey has a whole free program called Project Healthy Bones, but I'll sometimes,
Wonderful.
yeah, and I just consult for these classes on the state level. I don't do the classes. They're actually led by peer leaders, which is amazing. But when I've come into the classes, there are 80-year-olds helping me move furniture and do things, and you're so empowered, and your life becomes so much more fulfilled when you do embark on a strength training program, even twice a week. So it's a win-win, and it's never too late, never too early. And it's just, for everybody listening, just start doing something. And Carol's going to talk about the summit, but I made sure, Carol, on the summit that the physical therapists show exactly exercises that can be done, that people can start right away. So it gives them, even I have 2 sheets that I created, like when people sign up, and they'll get, I think I did like 6 balance exercises just so people can get started on not even get started. If that's all you did, it would be huge. And as well as showing 2 exercises you can do throughout the day just to get weight through the bones against gravity, because this is important.
Well, I think that is it's very important. And I'm trying to figure out here we go. I'm showing how to register. So we started prematurely talking, but let's continue talking about your wonderful summit. Now, I apologize for this ridiculously long link, but it is also in the comments section, and you can copy and paste it, because Margie is doing another wonderful summit on osteoporosis, and there's over 50 experts talking about all of their areas of focus and intention and concentration of their professional life in the areas that you just mentioned. And it is an opportunity to really, really, really give yourself the gift of knowing what you need to do to take care of your bone health. And it's serious. Osteoporosis is a bummer. That's putting it mildly. If you fall and you break a bone, and then it takes time to heal, and then you get deconditioned further, it can really interfere with your life and your ability to be vibrant. So you want to talk about the summit now?
Sure. The only reason I brought it up earlier, because I wanted to tell people that there's exercise resources that they can start immediately. I just wanted to, and I did this last year. It was so exciting for me, was that so many people changed their lives and started. And again, it's like a smorgasbord. You pick what you want. Carol's one of my speakers, so I love to talk, and I'm so excited because people don't really realize what's involved when you are going before and after cancer treatment, and how this is something we need to deal with. So I love the information that you shared. It's just a wonderful, wonderful talk. But I really wanted all areas of root causes for people, because some people, even mold can cause, inflammation. So there's many different areas, root causes. I wanted this time to demonstrate things, to really give people, so not only in the nutrition, I have 2 people doing doing demos in the kitchen, how you
Right.
can get,
That's great.
yeah, so how you can get protein. One does a whole thing. Irma Jennings, who's a she specializes in osteoporosis, but she does a whole thing on how to get protein into your diet, and what products she uses. It was really good. And Dr. Sally Lamont also.
Sally. Yeah.
Sally's food is so good. I've had some of Sally's food, so she also shares. So there's all sorts of demonstrations, but the exercise piece, I have physical therapist Sherry Betts really goes through strength training and shows what you can do. Matt Jeffs, who's a Qigong instructor.
Qigong is so great, ladies. What I've recommended, I know I'm interrupting you, but every now and then I have to make a comment.
No.
For if you're going through breast cancer care and treatment and you don't have energy to get out of bed, if you sit in bed or on a chair and you just move your arms with Qigong, you will feel better, right? Just from simple that. Even if you can't get out of bed, just do it in bed and do the exercises. You're going to feel better because you're keeping the Qi moving even with your arms, right?
I am such a believer in Tai Chi and Qigong. It is so powerful. And what I found, what they've done research on for balance, it's the number one exercise. Tai Chi is the number one exercise to improve balance. And the reason I think it is because you do, and in the thing I made, I showed two Tai Chi exercises that you can start right away, but back and forth. So you're shifting your weight back and forth, sideways. And so then if you trip or something happens, you have that pattern in your system.
In your core, yeah.
But what you said, it's a mind-body technique. And you're stimulating meridians. And you deal with this, Carol, all the other things that happen when you get beyond the Western medicine and start using some of the Eastern techniques, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so powerful. And what I also like about it, and I've noticed, as a physical therapist, you may give someone, okay, do an exercise and you're raising your arm. And they know it hurts in a certain level. So maybe they'll go up to here. But if you're gathering the Qi, all of a sudden the person's arm comes.
You can feel it. You can actually feel it when you gather the Qi and bring.
Doing a class with another physical therapist who's also a Qigong master. And it's been unbelievable how people have improved. And my husband even started doing it. So we do it on a regular basis. But just like you said, no matter what condition you're in, even do the arms, even bring Qi in, is really, really powerful. And I've seen just so life-changing and just so life-enhancing, really.
So we have the exercise component, we have the food component, and I think it's very interesting that you mentioned low stomach acid. People do not think, oh, hi, I have low stomach acid. I mean, they don't even think about it. I actually, as a doctor, didn't think about it until recently, and now I talk to people about stomach acid all the time. Is there a way that you test for stomach acid outside of swallowing that little capsule and having it go through your digestion?
It's really interesting, right? Nobody does that Heidelberg test. No one does that test. Even the GI people don't do that test. In terms of testing, there are ways that you can, and I really suggest doing this with a practitioner, that you give someone like the Betaine HCl and you see how, it's called the HCl challenge, but I recommend doing that with a practitioner. There are ways they can detect it in like a stool test. And some of the people talked about that. There's because it's so important. I had Andrea Nakayama, who I love, who I think just explains, she's a nutritionist who teaches nutritionists, but she does a whole talk on stomach acid. And I think a lot of us, people don't even know, but if you're having issues with digestion, a lot of times you can be, lacking stomach acid. But easy things that she talks about, adding, and I do this with people as well. Lemon, a little lemon with water helps before a meal. Apple cider vinegar can help with stomach acid. Chewing your food, getting your own digestive enzymes working can help also with stomach acid. But there is another way to test as well. And that is to do a baking soda test where you take like a teaspoon of baking soda, and it's like, okay. I think, I'm not sure if we lost
Yeah,
connection.
no. Well,
Oh,
here I am. I don't know what happened, but I'm glad
okay.
that you were continuing to talk.
Also, sometimes you can take baking, you can sort of see if there's acid in your stomach by taking a little baking soda,
Mhm.
and you take it before you let's say, yeah, you'll take it before a meal, and you'll sort of, you think about the food because you want the digestive enzymes. You think about the meal, think about the food, and then wait like 10 minutes, and you should burp. And
Right.
it's not a official test, but it's like an easy way to sort of see maybe. But you can work with a practitioner on, it's called the HCL challenge, but I would not do that yourself. I would work with
No,
somebody.
oh, you can't do that yourself.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that yourself.
But for
But
people
I
in,
like the baking soda way. I think
yeah,
that's really inexpensive and easy way to test. And also how much you're eliminating versus how much you're eating. There are lots of ways. And do you feel over, if you eat a little bit and you feel bloated in your stomach and you don't feel well after you've eaten, that's an indication. It's just a simple indication that you need digestive enzymes.
exactly. And it's such a big, important piece of it, because if you're not digesting, you're not going to be absorbing. And, so many people, I know you see this as well, have digestive issues. And
Oh,
they
yeah.
just think, oh, I have to live with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I go to the bathroom, every third day. It's so
Not,
common.
hope not. That's the first thing we need to clear up. If you're going to the bathroom every 3 days, you have a problem. And I'd say I read somewhere that 80% of Americans are constipated.
Wow.
Yeah. So well, you think about people eating the standard American diet, they're eating too much processed food. They're not getting enough leafy greens or green vegetables or even carrots. They're just not getting enough roughage, right? And then they're told to drink Metamucil, which is one of the worst things that you could do. If anybody out there is eating Metamucil, please stop. It's just horrible for you. So let's get back to what else about is wonderful about the summit, Margie. What other wonderful experts do you have on there?
Okay, so I just want to continue with the exercise
Sure.
because I think, as a physical therapist, this piece, people don't know who to go to, who to see, but I have people who really specialize in this. So Penelope Wasserman, she's showing us how to use dance as a means of exercise, which is fun. So it's
It's
a way
fun.
of
Fun
finding
is great.
fun, right? And then I'm a big person who loves Feldenkrais. I don't know,
Me too. I love Feldenkrais.
love the Feldenkrais method, and very
Right.
important with osteoporosis and everything is being in alignment. And so she's a physical therapist and a Feldenkrais practitioner, Robin Eisen. And she was on the summit last time, but she's doing a whole different routine this time, really helping us with our ankle, because the ankle's the first line of defense against a fall. And a lot of people have restrictions, tightness. So she takes us through this really great movement pattern with your hip. I can't even explain Feldenkrais. It's like a way of learning new movements in a different way. So just trust me. Like you've done the Carol, so you know what it's
I
like.
have. It's like a way of talking about how you see yourself in relationship to where you are and then aligning your body so it's in alignment with your environment. I don't know, maybe that describes it, but just talking about it, I started sitting up straighter.
Yeah, for
there's this
example, one of the things I do all the time is I tell people pretend they're sitting on a clock. 12's at the front and 6 is the back. And so you go back and forth with your pelvis from 12 to 6, and you close your eyes and you go smaller and smaller and smaller. It's a great way to get into a good sitting posture. So if I were to push on your shoulders, you'd be in alignment. So it's doing something the body's never done, and it breaks some of the old habits. So I've seen it as the quickest way to just improve posture, alignment. So she takes us through really a great routine. And I said there's Matt Jeffs, and then there's Joan Pagano. And Joan, I love Joan. Joan was actually the personal trainer. She's an exercise physiologist, but she was the personal trainer to Jackie Onassis and Carolyn Kennedy.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. And so Joan teaches us how to set up a home gym. What pieces of equipment do you need? What can you do? How to do some exercises with it. So that's really helpful. So there's a lot of, yeah. And then Sherry Betts has a whole program on exercise. So there's a lot of exercise in it. Then there's a lot of root cause, autoimmunity, Dr. Khan does such a good job of not only telling you what has to happen for immunity, but the order, that the order matters. And, he really goes through what we can do. As I said, Diva Boone talks about how what are the numbers you need to know if you have parathyroid.
Yeah, I referred one of my patients to her after you and I spoke, because they thought her calcium was elevated, and I went, and they said, "Oh, it's fine." I said, "No, actually, it isn't, and you need to have a consultation with this physician in Arizona." And the woman said, "Yeah, we're heading in a not a okay direction, because normal doctors think a calcium around 10 or 10 point is fine." And it's like, no, it's not. So, there's information that can really be life-saving and quality of life-saving improving in this summit. So I encourage everybody. So the link is in the comments. It's up here now. For my community, if you're on my email list, I just sent out the email today supporting Margie's summit, and it had her free exercise video little thing in there. So everybody will get that. And if you want to get on my email list and you're not, you can email me at support@thepathofbreastcancer.com, and I will have my team reach out to you to add you to my email list, so you'll get all this great information that I share with my community all the time. And the summit goes, who is the person that helps with setting up a home gym? Who is that person?
Joan Pagano.
Joan Pagano.
Yeah, what I do every morning, Carol, because I wanted to make it, I teach happiness as well. And I just think that's another piece of it, actually. I have Marcy Scheimoff, who was one of my mentors. She talks about happiness habits, and we do stress reduction, different things. But because it's such a big part of, I feel, healing, every morning, like every day, I did one very easy happiness habit to start the day. And then I go through the speakers, like explaining what each one does and what's going on. So it's even easier if you just don't want to read about them. Just listen to it's 5 minutes in the morning. Each day you'll see a little thing about me talking about teaching one happiness habit, and then going through the day's speakers and what's in store and what you can learn. So there's a lot of speakers. So I think the key is not to get overwhelmed. The key is just pick and choose. You certainly don't have to do everything, but there was so much information I wanted to share that I didn't want to cut anybody out or not.
It's great. It's totally great. And, if you look at this and you think, oh, I need all this information, I want all this information, but I can't do it all at once, to purchase the summit, so you have these interviews for whenever you want. It's very inexpensive. It's not going to, blow you out of the bridge with too much money. So, that's one of the nice things about this is I'm actually probably going to purchase it, because I want to know, and I love Margie's happiness habits. We all need to start the day with that, because your mindset really makes a big difference. If you wake up and you go, well, the heck with this happiness habit, I'm not going to do it today, it's not going to make a difference. That's what I call the hopelessness syndrome. And that's actually when you need to do it the most, more than once, because we got to shift that energy, and your intention can just shift the energy really quickly. It doesn't, right?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's such a piece. And I know, Carol, this is such a big part of what you teach, and it makes such a difference in the healing. And I've seen this, when I started teaching, I had a bad experience, and I was working with chronic pain patients. And they're like, "You're so happy, Margie. What are you doing?" And that's when I realized it wasn't my external circumstances. What was I doing? Now I call them happiness habits. But when I started teaching them to chronic pain patients, they got better so much faster. It was shocking to me. So it's really powerful, and it's fun. That's the good part. Who doesn't want to be a little happier,
Right. And we all need a little bit more lightness and fun in our lives. And there's no such thing as too much lightness and too much fun. And, I think that's a new phrase that I'm going to start.
I like that, Carol. I really love it. Yeah.
There's no such thing as too much fun, everyone. Right? If you're not having enough, we need to switch some things around in your life, because you've never been put down for having too much fun, right?
Absolutely.
And that makes a really big difference. So, Margie, thank you so much for being here. And ladies, we have the link. You can reach out to me. You can comment here. And if you have any questions for Margie, you can put them here, and I'll make sure she gets them. And this is a life changing summit. And I want to encourage everyone who's watching now and in my community, everybody, we all need to take care of our bones. And my daughter said to me, I don't want you to be in a wheelchair like my mother, her granny. And that was it for me. I started power walking. I started lifting weights. And when you think I'll do it later, it's like, even if you're in your late 40s and your late 50s, the time is now, because it's hard to recoup when you're already that deteriorated. It is possible, but you don't want to get to that place where you can't, we see advertising on television for walkers and they're making it look like it's great. You don't want to need a walker.
Absolutely. Every age. That's the thing. People don't realize, they think it's an older person's issue. It's not. What we do when we're younger makes it. And there's even a pediatrician on the summit, Dr. Lisa Song, talking about kids, what we can do with our kids, because that can change the whole trajectory of osteoporosis if they do things when they're young.
Nobody even thinks about children and their bone health, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here, Margie. I really love hanging out with you, and thank you for doing the summit again. It's really necessary, needed, and life-saving and life-changing. And ladies, it's Carol Lourie signing off for now, and there'll be more later. Have a lovely day, everyone.